And I will start this evening's meeting off with reading several proclamations. The first one is the Extra Mile Day Proclamation. Whereas Moscow, Idaho is a community which acknowledges that a special vibrancy exists within the entire community when its individual citizens collectively go the extra mile in personal effort, volunteerism, and service. Whereas Moscow, Idaho is a community which encourages its citizens to maximize their personal contribution to the community by giving to themselves wholeheartedly and with total effort, commitment, and conviction to their individual ambitions, family, friends, and community. And whereas Moscow, Idaho is a community which chooses to shine a light on and celebrate individuals and organizations within its community who go the extra mile in order to make a difference and lift up fellow members of their community. And whereas Moscow, Idaho acknowledges the mission of Extra Mile America to create 500 extra mile cities in America and is proud to support Extra Mile Day on November 1st, 2015. And now, therefore, I, Bill Lambert, the Mayor of Moscow, Idaho, do hereby proclaim November 1st, 2015 as Extra Mile Day in Moscow, and I urge each individual in the community to take time on this day to not only go the extra mile in his or her own life, but to also acknowledge all those who are inspirational in their efforts and commitment to make their organizations, families, community, country, or world a better place. The second proclamation I'm going to read is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Domestic Violence Awareness Month Proclamation. Whereas domestic violence is a pattern of abusive behavior in intimate relationships used by one partner to exert power and gain control over the other. And whereas domestic violence can involve physical, sexual, emotional, economic, or psychology threats and actions, and whereas anyone can be a victim of domestic violence regardless of age, gender, economic status, race, religion, sexual orientation, or education. And whereas the statistics are sobering, nationwide, 1 in 4 women will experience domestic violence sometime in her life. Over the past fiscal year, the nonprofit Alternatives to Violence of the Palouse provided 2,346 free in-person advocacy-based counseling sessions, including 1,006 sessions for clients from Idaho. Domestic violence victims advocates from ATVP answered 4,067 emergency hotline calls last year, including 1,673 from Idaho. 75 of those victims and their children found safety in ATVP's emergency shelter for a total of 1,187 bed nights. And 35 of those victims and children were Idaho residents who needed 554 bed nights. And whereas, due to reduced funding and other resources, domestic violence programs are strained to keep up with demands for services, and whereas growing up in a violent home can be a significant negative factor in children's development, and whereas Alternatives to Violence of the Palouse works with law enforcement and other local partners to provide help, including shelter to people in Layton and Whitman counties who are affected by domestic violence. And whereas last year ATVP provided 139 educational and regional outreach sessions to some 8,460 attendees. And whereas awareness of the problem is the first step, but it is incumbent on all of us to work together to prevent domestic violence, to respond to the needs of victims, to speak out, and to help ensure offenders are held accountable. Now, therefore, I, Bill Lambert, the Mayor of the City of Moscow, do hereby proclaim October 2015 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Moscow, and I urge all citizens to help end domestic violence. Is there anyone here from ATV? Would you please come up so I can give you this?
All right. Thank you, Mayor Lambert and members of the council. I'm Hayden Hensley. I work with Alternatives to Violence of the Palouse. I'm a survivor's advocate here in the Moscow office. I just wanted to say thank you all for being here. Thanks for making this a priority in the community. We've all, as a community in the past 35 years, banded together and recognized that violence is neither private nor, as we've heard in the statistics, particularly rare. And in the past decade alone, so ATVP, we've been here for 35 years. And in the past decade, we've worked with 3,600 individual clients. We've provided 14,000 shelter nights, answered over 30,000 crisis hotline calls. And hopefully in 10 years, I won't be here. Hopefully in 10 years, we won't need me here at all, and we'll be out of business. That's the goal, and it won't happen without continued support and continued action, as Mayor Lambert said, and continued accountability for the offenders in their community that you all can do. Thank you for your commitment, and I look forward to working with you more in the future. Cheers.
Thank you very much for the, ATPP has been around for many, many years. When I was on United Way board back in the early 80s, why they were one of the groups that United Way helped fund and still helps fund. And it's just one of those social ills that we have to deal with it. And the only way to ever deal with something like that is to take it head on and make sure that everybody knows that, hey, we don't have a tolerance for it, and we're going to fix it whatever it takes. So thank you for your work and your efforts in doing that.